Welcome again, dear students. I am Dr. Kaleem Ahmed, Assistant Professor, Department of Wildlife Sciences, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh. This is the second part of our lecture on role of camera traps in biodiversity conservation. In this lecture, we will explore how camera traps actually help us conduct species inventories, study animal behavior, and understand population and community ecology. In this lecture, we also try to discuss how to design effective camera traps, studies, and address some common challenges in camera trap studies and monitoring. In our last lecture, we discussed actually the importance of the camera traps in biodiversity conservation. We explored actually various types and models, including we discussed infrared, we discussed flash cameras, and also discuss the species that can be monitored using these tools. And we also reviewed how to properly set up the camera traps, and we also discussed the ethical considerations involved in the use of the camera traps. And in today's lecture, we will explore the research applications in more detail. In this is, we can say, a flowcharts that actually highlights the various research applications that actually supported by the camera trap studies. First, we can actually create species checklist to identify what's present in a given area. That's the, we can say, major success of the camera traps, that we can explore the species, those species which are unable to explore by other traditional means. We can look, we can identify, we can break through a new species by means of the camera traps. Next, we can analyze the species diversity by examining alpha, beta, and gamma diversity matrix. And camera traps also actually allow us to estimate species density and relative abundance index, and it gives us some kind of, we can say, insight into the different population parameters. We can also observe by means of the camera traps the animal behavior, including we can also able to find out the different activity patterns and different foraging patterns, not only in the daytime but also at the night hours. So this is the, we can say, one of the importance of the camera traps. And finally, these studies can also enhance our understanding of, we can say, illegal local activities by means of the camera traps. We can also assess who is going into the forest by remotely assessing through camera traps, such as we can control the poaching, and that actually help us to contribute in a wildlife conservation or a biodiversity conservation at the longer run. This graphs actually highlights the rise of the camera trap studies 1993 to 2020. This shows the significant increase, particularly after 2020, with a peak you can see in the 2019 to 2020. So this chart clearly demonstrates the growing importance of the camera trap studies, and we can say the use of the camera trap technology in wildlife research and the conservation over these years. So people, more and more people are actually coming forward, more and more people are actually interested to do their research by means of the camera traps, because the camera traps are not limited to only one taxa or only one species. We can explore, we can study all the species by means of the camera traps. That's why you can find that the more and more people are coming, or more and more researchers are coming, more and more researchers or biologists are interested to do their research by means of the camera traps. The camera traps, we can say, are essential tool for conducting species inventories, and it also help us to do some kind of the rapid biodiversity assessments in those areas that are actually threatened by different types of the development, or that are actually prone to different environmental change. These camera traps also enable us to comprehensive make a checklist of the species across multiple habitats. Primarily we can focusing on, we can say, different mammal species. And the flexibility of the camera trap deploy means scattered to species habitat preference. We can also find out the which particular species actually preferred which kind of the habitats. or we can say we can also do it by random design in less understood areas, that those areas which are not studied previously, we can also by randomly place the cameras, we can find out the species in that particular areas, and this provides some kind of the crucial evidence of the species presence in a new unmonitored areas. That's the, we can say, the importance of the camera traps, that we can find out the new species in a new area. And below are the images of the, in this particular slide you can see the image of the significant species captured by the camera traps. The Indian wolf, making the first photographic evidence in Rajaji National Parks, and the snow leopard in Kishtwar National Park. This is the, we can say, importance of the camera traps, that we can find out the new distribution range of the species by means of the camera traps. So these kind of the studies, these kinds of the highlights, these kinds of the new discoveries actually highlights or underscores the vital role of the camera traps in wildlife monitoring and biodiversity conservation. Camera traps are invaluable, I can say, for studying community ecology. It's not only restricted to one particular species, but we can study the community ecology and by and assessing both observed and the true species diversity across various habitats, across different types of the habitats. They actually enable us researchers, they give freedom to the researchers to measure species richness, evenness, facilitating comparison between different environments. So this is the beauty of these camera traps, and the data that we actually gathered from the camera traps allow for the assessment of the species turnover as well as the change in the species composition across landscapes. It's not limited to only species identifications. We can go further by the data we can collect through camera traps. Researcher can actually utilize the different softwares like OR to analyze camera traps data for community compositions and different structures of a species of their interest. Actually, we can say that camera traps have transformed population ecology in wildlife conservation by allowing us to estimate animal population effectively. The method we choose actually depend on the species and the research goals. So we need to be very careful that while deploying the camera traps, what method we will choose, it's depend upon our research goals as well as on the species of the target. We can say for herbivores, we used random sampling analyzed with camera traps, distance sampling and random encounter models. For carnivores, we can say capture more recaptures or especially capture recapture models are preferred. And when deploying camera traps, we need to consider species behavior and their biology, and always following to the close population assumption. That's one of the, we can say, assumption that when we deploy the camera traps is do that we need to follow that the population is closed, that there is no birth, no death or no migrations, that ensure our data is reliable for the conservation efforts. So if we are doing our research in a particular species, and if we have a proper using the proper methodology, we need to ensure that the assumption of the camera traps is to be followed, and the assumption is that we need that there is no birth, no death, no migration. It means closed population assumption. Camera traps are invaluable for gathering, we can say, distribution data, especially we can say in remote and the dense habitats. Particularly where cryptic species like clouded leopard and the fishy cats are likely to hide, because otherwise by means of the traditional methods we cannot explore the habitats of the species like fishing cat and the clouded leopard, which are very cryptic and very elusive. These actually elusive animals are, we can say, are challenging to detect using the traditional survey methods. And by, we can say, employing these occupancy models, researchers or the biologists can effectively account for perfect deductions, providing a clear picture of the species distributions and the habitat use. Camera traps also offer critical insight into the animal behaviors, capturing data on hunting, and foraging patterns as well as the activity levels that I have already discussed with you in the previous slides as well as in the previous lectures. They reveal, I can say, they also reveal the species interactions, such as how the predation is occurring in the natural environments, how the species actually competing with each other with the different resources, and how they actually avoid each other's, or we can say how we can by means of these camera traps we will find out the avoidance strategies of the different species. And by analyzing camera traps footage with tools like we can say XGBP, researcher can assess temporal overlap between species, including we can say prey predator dynamics. And this understanding is very important, is very vital for informing wildlife management and the conservation efforts, because all the things that we are doing, all the camera traps that we deployed, all the wildlife research that we are doing, ultimate goal is the wildlife management and the different conservation efforts. So by knowing all these things, the ultimate goal is wildlife management. So this crucial information that we will get actually from the camera traps is very helpful for the managers in the wildlife management of a particular protected areas. So another important thing in the camera trap study is designing a camera trap study. Designing a camera trap study, I can say, requires a careful planning and a clear, I can say, focus on the research objectives. The first thing that we need to do is define whether we are studying a population, whether we are studying a community structures, or whether we are studying the population distributions. That the first step is we need to identify this. We need to be very sure on these particular things, and we need to select the target species, whether it's a our target is carnivore, or our target is herbivores, or we are going to target some other species. And the study side is also very important when we actually design a camera trap study, which could be, maybe it may be agriculture, it may be a grassland, it may be a forested habitats, it may be a mountainous areas. So these things are very important, or we need to keep in mind while designing our camera trap study. And it is also essential to understand the species biology. That's very important things when we are designing our study for camera traps, whether the species is nocturnal or species is diurnal, or whether the species is cryptic or whether the species is shy, to determine the best times and the place to deploy camera traps. Based on the species biology, we can deploy the camera traps in a very effective way, so that we can collect the maximum data of that of our target species. As human activity, we can say, and land use should also be considered, as these can disrupt animals' movements and the behaviors, whether when we are deploying the camera traps, whether that particular area is disturbed, or what type of the land use is that also actually we need to consider, because these things can disturb the animal movements and other things, and we are unable to collect the, we can say, good data if there is something like that. And another very important things for that is we can say budget constraints that also play a crucial role in determining how many camera traps are to be deployed, because handling a camera traps in the field is very, we can say, labor extensive. So you need to make sure that how much budget is with you, that how many camera traps you are going to deploy in the fields. Another, finally, we need to choose an appropriate sampling designs, such as random or grid based or target location sampling, depending upon our study objective or depending upon our research goals. So what type of study we are going to do, accordingly we can actually design our study. It maybe it's a grid, maybe it's a random, or maybe it's a target locations. And another things, we need to be very mindful regarding the study periods, and we need to ensure that our design supports comprehensive data collections across the chosen time frame. So how long we are actually going to deploy the camera traps, that is also very important, and based on that we need to ensure that this is our time frame, and this time frame I am going to collect this particular data, and that's match our research objective. So this time frame is also very important when we are actually designing the camera trap studies. So I can say the camera traps deployment strategy heavily on the target species and the research goals. One common approach is, we can say, we can go for the random deployment, which actually maximize area coverage, but you may miss specific species or the behaviors. that we go for the random deployment of the camera traps, and but in this case we actually miss some specific species or the behavior of that particular species. And this type of, we can say, random deployment is ideal for assessing herbivore population and the general distribution of that particular areas. And another strategy that we can adopt is targeted deployment. Where we can actually do what we can do in this, we deploy the camera traps in place of known hotspots, such as near water sources or animal paths, that actually increasing the likelihood of capturing specific species or behavior, like we can say nest, den or kill site monitorings. Lastly, we can say species specific deployments alters camera placements based on the species biology. That what type of the species you are going to study, based on their species biology, the deployment is, the design is going accordingly. For instance, we can say carnivore often use trails and roads, making this prime location for the camera traps. If someone is interested in carnivores, it means the trails, the roads are the ideal for the camera traps deployments. And if someone is interested in the herbivores, they need to require more dispersed and flexible deployment strategies to capture the movements of the different herbivore species. So ultimately what I try to convey is totally the deployment of the camera traps is totally dependent upon our research goals and the research species. Based on that, we can choose the different methods or study designs or the places of our choice for the deployment of the cameras. Camera traps, I can say data is, although we deploy the camera traps, but we will get data from the large of data from the, we can say, camera traps. So camera trap data is highly valuable for the wildlife research, but we can say that but managing that particular data requires a proper storage, and such as external hard drives due to large volume of the image. So you need to be ensured that you have a external hard drives with good space, so that you can store the image, maximum image on that particular device. And another species identifications can be performed using time lapse features, and there are number of the softwares available like toolkits like Exit Pro. You can identify the species by using this, and then one can organize and clean the data by effectively using different software, by using MS Excels or the Google Sheets. One can do that. And for, we can say, if someone wants to go for the deeper insights, different statistical analysis can be applied to this data, like OR, wagon, SECRs, overlap models for accurate, I can say, population estimation and trend assessments in wildlife studies. So this is the table that this shows that how we can, after collecting the image, how we can process the camera traps data. Camera trap studies comes with a lot of challenge, like breakdowns, bad weathers, maybe camera traps theft in areas with lot of the human activity, because if you are going to deploy the camera traps in which a lot of human pressure is there, so there is always a threat for the damage of the cameras, because there is always we can say challenge of the breakdowns, there is always challenge of the bad weather. So we need to take care about all these things. Another thing is batteries can run out very quickly, and it's also depend upon the area in which we are actually deploying the cameras, and handling the large amount of the data can be a tough in this case. And to tackle all this issue, we need to ensure a regular maintenance. We need to have a better security, and using a long lasting batteries with automated data toolkits are the key if we really want to collect some good data from the camera traps. So keeping the cameras in good shape is very crucial for effective wildlife monitoring. So we need to take care about these are the challenges that one can face when they actually go for the camera traps in any of the areas. Camera trap studies have we can say led to significant conservation success, and I'm just discussing one of the success of the camera traps, that how the camera traps actually helping us in the species monitoring, the species conservations, and how the different projects have been successful by the deployment of the camera traps. And a key example is India's All India Tiger Estimation Projects, which actually began in 2006, that actually shifting from the traditional pug mark tracking to the advanced camera traps. This is the one of the key success of the camera traps, and this project provided valuable data on tiger distribution and behavior across India. And I can say this deployment of the camera traps to monitor, to know the exact number of the tigers, is not, we are not actually getting the distribution and the behavior of the tigers. By this deployment of the camera traps, we are also able to know the large number of the data of the other species as well. And in 2006, an estimated 1,411 tigers were recorded, and by the last census of 2022, this number had increased to 3,167. So all this we can find out with the help of camera trap studies. The 2018 survey set a Guinness World Record as the largest carnivore monitoring exercise. So this actually emphasizes the importance of the camera traps. So this is the one of the biggest exercise that has been done through camera traps, and it has been recorded on Guinness World Record. So camera traps have not only, we can say, help protect tiger, but also facilitate habitat managements, conflict mitigations, and the protection of the other wildlife species. Because when you are conserving a particular tiger in a particular area, in a particular protected area, in a particular tiger reserves, you are not only, we can say, conserve the tigers. When you are conserving the tigers, you need to conserve their habitats. You need to conserve the protect their prey species also. When you, it means it's by me conserving the tiger, you are conserving each and every species, from insects to the elephants of that particular habitats. So this is the beauty of the, we can say, the camera trap studies, or this is the beauty of the, we can say, the project like this. When they have been initiated, you are actually conserving the whole ecosystem of a particular area. Camera traps, I can say, are essential to wildlife monitoring and biodiversity conservations, and offering precise data on species in the population that I have already discussed with you. And the future of lies in AI and machine learning, that actually enhancing species identification and automating data analysis. So more and more people are going further. They are using AI also. They are using the machine learning and other things with camera traps. And technology likes, we have also advanced technology like drones and remote sensings will improve the real-time monitoring of the habitat assessments. I can say that as camera traps expand, they will gather valuable data across different type of the ecosystems. And we also need that public engagement through digital tools will also support conservation efforts. But ethical practices that I have already discussed with you in using this technology is also very, very crucial. So we need to take care of the ethical consideration while using all these kind of the technologies. So in conclusion, I can say the camera traps have transformed our understanding of wildlife and conservation efforts. So dear students, with this I end today's lecture, and in the next lecture I will discuss some new interesting topics. Thank you.